In today's episode, we will take a look at the life of King Tiny and his past affiliation to the Ballas Street gang. Based on his appearance, King Tiny is estimated to be 37 years old in 2023, meaning he was likely born around 1986. He grew up in Los Santos, where life in the streets shaped him early on. By the time he was a teenager, Tiny had joined the Covenant Ballers, rising through the ranks during one of the most violent periods in Los Santos' gang history. At the time, the rival gang, the Families, were weakened by inner conflict and losing ground, with multiple gangs, such as the Ballers, seeing this as an opportunity to gang up on them. These were some of the bloodiest years in Los Santos, and Tiny's reputation grew as he added bodies under his name. Tiny was baller royalty, and nobody could touch him, which is why he goes by King Tiny. Besides appearing short, Tiny was an original gangster over his own crew within the Ballers, rather than running the entire gang. He worked closely with other respected ballers like OGD and OGP, leading missions protecting their hood and expanding the gang's influence. But as he grew older, Tiny realized there was more to life than gangbanging. He began to use social media to tell his story, sharing tales from the streets and offering insights into the life of a Los Santos gangster. Platforms like Life Invader, Bleeder, and especially Snapmatic helped Tiny build a following, transforming him from a poor hood booger into the new and improved hood-rich baller. Tiny's charisma and raw honesty resonated with people, and he soon launched a podcast. The podcast allowed him to monetize his stories, bringing in money while he moved closer to the mainstream. Tiny's social media rise also brought him into contact with Jamal Amir, a wealthy party boy and cousin to real estate mogul Yusuf Amir. So Jamal would introduce his new friend Tiny to the high-rolling world of Los Santos' elite players. Now through Jamal, Tiny gained financial support and connections to powerful people linked to organized crime. This combination of gang power and mainstream influence made Tiny a unique figure, feared in the streets but admired online. But even with his social media success, Tiny couldn't fully escape his past. In 2023, he was arrested on unknown charges, landing him in jail. Tiny knew that if he ended up in prison, he'd have to return to gang politics. So he began working out, preparing himself for the reality of joining the Ballers in prison life, which often involved riots, alliances, and other dangerous activities. But despite his situation, Tiny stayed relaxed and ready to face whatever came next. But luckily for Tiny, a career criminal orchestrated Tiny's escape from jail. In return for the favor, Tiny revealed the location of a luxury car owned by a high-ranking gangster, ensuring the player's reward while securing his own freedom.
You want to know about the car? Then I need to see that the cops aren't gonna catch us before we get to my chopper.
The messed up part of all this is that the gangster who owned the car was a member of the Ballers, and multiple Baller members were shot during this theft. Some of these people likely grew up with King Tiny. His actions destroyed the loyalty he once held to the streets. After escaping, Tiny decided it was time to leave Los Santos for good. The city had given him fame and fortune, but also brought endless risks to his future. Tiny lived a life full of survival and reinvention, from his violent years as a gang leader to becoming a social media star. Even now, he continues to inspire his online audience while ducking from the police, hoping to find peace and a fresh start. If Tiny had stayed in LS, he would have become the very thing he tried to avoid, trapped in the never-ending cycle of violence. But just like King Tiny, I'm also trying to build a following using social media. So if you enjoyed this episode, then you might as well check out this video next.